Hey, welcome to a new episode of the Mindset Up podcast. In these solo episodes, I'll be sharing more about my entrepreneurial journey, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And in this episode, I want to discuss something that I've uncovered about myself that was limiting my abilities as an entrepreneur, as an athlete, as a podcaster. And that's the fact. It's super simple and it sounds ridiculous, but it's the fact that I didn't see myself as these things. I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur. I didn't see myself as an athlete. I didn't see myself as a podcaster. And it's super weird, but I was really afraid to identify myself as, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm building my own marketing agency called Client Revolution. I was just afraid of it, and it's so weird. Maybe you've noticed it as well if I talked about it on previous episodes about my own marketing agency, Client Revolution. I always refer to it as my agency freelance thingy that I'm doing. So it's just screaming insecurity, and that's definitely something that's kept me from fully committing to my business. If you don't dare to say that you have your own business, that you're building something, that you're building a marketing agency, then how the fuck do you expect that it's going to happen? You know, if you don't believe it yourself, then it's definitely not gonna happen. That's something that I've uncovered in the coaching call that I had with my coach. And the funny thing is that being an entrepreneur, being an athlete, being a podcaster, all those terms were laying on the tip of my tongue. I just was afraid to speak them out loud. Previously, I would never identify myself as, hey, I'm a dude who makes podcasts, so I'm a podcaster. That wasn't the thing. Same goes for business wise. If somebody asked me what I was doing, then I would say like, oh, I'm in marketing. I'm a freelancer. I'm doing this thing, but I'm also working for other agencies. And it was just that doesn't give you the impression like, oh shit, he's really building something. And the issue with these insecurities is that I have them. So the insecurities that caused me to be like, I don't know if I'm an entrepreneur, I don't know if I'm a podcaster, they came from the fact that I was looking at the future. So I was like, because I don't make the amount of money that I want to with my business, or the fact that I don't have this much clients with my own agency doesn't means that I'm not an entrepreneur, or the fact that my podcast doesn't have the average listeners that I want on a monthly basis means that I'm not a podcaster, which is absolutely fucking insane. Because if you take a look at the past, I have all the reasons to call myself these things, if that makes sense. I've started a couple of businesses. The first business I've started was when I was 19. I was in 2019, 2020. So 5 years later, I'm still doing this. I'm still chasing my dreams as an entrepreneur. So the fact that I did not see myself as an entrepreneur is making me flabbergasted. And the same goes with podcasts. The first podcast that I've ever recorded was with my best friend. We had a podcast back then. It was 20 May 2020. So again, almost 5 years ago. And I was too afraid to call myself a podcaster. I've made more than 100 episodes. So that's so crazy. It was really like, why don't I dare call myself these things? Why don't I see myself as these things, as an entrepreneur, as a podcaster? And it was just the insecurity caused by looking at the future, being like, oh, but I don't have the results. So that means I'm not it. And my biggest insecurity happened during the coaching call, and it was the biggest reason, I think, why I would not call myself these things or identify myself as these things. Or if somebody asked me, oh, you make a podcast, and I was like, oh yeah, it's just something that I like to do. It's not like, oh yeah, I make a podcast, that's right. I wasn't proud on it. I am proud of it, what I'm doing with Client Revolution, what I'm doing with Mindset Up, but I was insecure because I had the fear if I told someone, hey, I'm a podcaster, I actually make a show about, I think, my own life and entrepreneurship and mindset, that they were gonna be like, I don't believe you. No, you're not doing that. You're an imposter. That was, I swear to God, and I'm not even a religious person, but I swear to God that that was the thing that I was suffering from. And it all became clear to me in the coaching call because Christophe, he asked me, who are you? And I replied with, I'm an entrepreneur. I am building my own marketing agency. And the insecurity that came out of me, and he was like, nope, I don't believe you. And I have never felt the amount of insecurity that was in my body. I was feeling like the floor was falling beneath me, like I was really just being discovered, if that makes sense. And what happened after that was that actually nothing happened. I'm still the same person I was before he told me that he didn't believe me. And later on in the call, we went over it a couple of times, and I became more confident, and I learned that I don't need to give a fuck if he doesn't believe me, or if somebody else doesn't believe me, or if somebody on the internet says, what the fuck is this weird guy talking about? I don't need to give a fuck. And that's something that I wanted to share with you, because maybe you're having the same issue. You're doing things, you're chasing things, but you're super insecure. If somebody asks you, like, what are you doing exactly? And you're like downplaying it, don't do that. Just be honest, be proud on what you're building, what you're doing. Then it's definitely hard if you're insecure. I know that, but just you have to feel it. And being able to identify myself as these things gives me the power as well to actually be an entrepreneur, to actually be a podcaster, if that makes sense. So that's what I wanted to share with you. And of course, we are going over the accountability section. And I had 3 goals last week, and I actually made 2 of the 3 happen. So I did 20 outreaches for my agency, Client Revolution. I got one positive reply, but he didn't book in a meeting yet, so that doesn't count. And I've sent 5 invites to potential podcast guests, and I already interviewed one of them, so that's coming later on. And I also have 2 more meetings slash interviews in the pipeline, so that's really nice. And the one thing that didn't happen was the posting one Instagram reel and posting one LinkedIn post. It's still haunting me, the fact that I didn't do it. And I was like, maybe I should record it before the podcast, before, so I could say that I actually recorded already. But then I was like, I have to do other stuff. Bon, a lot of excuses, but I didn't do the LinkedIn post. I didn't do the Instagram reel because I was procrastinating it. And then I had it planned on Monday. Monday eventually became a day full of meetings, so I didn't do it. And then I would just like prioritizing other stuff. So again, it didn't happen. But if you look at my goals for coming week, I want to do 50 agency outreaches. So for my own clients, not sending to agencies like, hey, I want to freelance for you. No, really contacting people in the info product space who are not yet doing Facebook ads and who their sales funnel looks a bit shitty. I also want to finish a sales page that I'm writing for a fitness influencer, and I want to post one Instagram reel and one LinkedIn post. I am going to keep repeating it until I do it, and I don't give a fuck if it's 500 episodes in and that's still on the list without me doing it, then it has to be like that. I'm gonna do it. I know it. And the last thing is that I want to send 5 invites to potential podcast guests. So yeah, that's it for today. If you like these all over the place episodes where I'm brutally honest about how my life's going, about the insecurities that I have as an entrepreneur, or the good things that can happen as an entrepreneur, then make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow on your favorite podcast streaming service. And then I wish you an amazing day. Bye bye.